Is Changli still a strong pull to make, even when her banner competition is so dense? That's what I aim to help you decide today. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. Let's get the obvious right out of the way first. Changli is the premier quick swap unit. If you're somebody that's interested in that more complex playstyle, then let's just say that the Phoenix Lady is 100% the character for you. Quick swapping is exactly what it sounds like. Essentially, in simple terms, you swiftly swap between your characters when the other is doing a long animation, so that you can fill in that long animation time with even more damage. The reason why it's a more high skill technique is because you need very fast inputs in order to pull it off effectively. But you 100% get rewarded for how high the skill requirement is. You get a lot of damage out of it. I'm telling you man, well-optimized quick swap gameplay is the stuff of dreams. So if you're looking to play the most optimal quick swap teams, then you should 100% look into getting this character, because if you're able to utilize her to her max potential, then goodness me is she going to feel like an excellent addition to your account. And the especially nice thing about this gameplay archetype, it's very versatile. You can apply it to so many different teams. If there's a long animation that can be swapped into, then it looks like the Phoenix Lady has a chance to plan with convention and conquer by ingenuity. And while there are 100% teams of this archetype that don't feature the Phoenix Lady, she 100% offers you the most ideal way to play them. Let's touch on her versatility a little more. Here's the thing, if you're able to utilize her well within these teams, then her versatility becomes extremely effective, because wherever you slot her, she's going to be an excellent substitute for whatever traditional hypercarry support would have been there instead. For instance, take the esteemed Montelli Lady Carlotta. You can easily play a very powerful hypercarry team with her, the silly Painter Joja, and then somebody like Verena or Shorekeeper in the back. However, you can even substitute Joja for Changli instead, and if you're good at playing that comp, then it honestly performs extremely well. Another cool team you're able to quick swap in that I'm personally quite fond of is Absolution Phoebe. Anytime she does her enhanced heavy attack, you're able to swap into Changli and do your skill whenever that's being cast. It's a very clear swap window, and in my experience, it's been one of the easier Changli teams to actually get a hang of. And personally speaking, it's my favorite Absolution Phoebe team. Then there's the tried and true Changli Yao. It pretty much works the way that you would expect it to. Anytime Changli does a long animation, you swap it to Changli, do her abilities, then swap back to Changli, do his abilities, and you just kinda keep bouncing the ball back and forth until your rotation is over. And the real golden ticket here, if you're able to play this team optimally, then it actually beats out casual Hyper Changli Yao. That's right, despite Yinlin's excellent Electro percent and Liberation percent buffs, the Phoenix Lady actually pops out on top as his best teammate. Now granted, like I said, that is the case, provided that you're actually able to execute the team well. You are going to have to practice it quite a bit in order to make the most out of it. But once you're able to do so, congratulations! You're currently playing the strongest Changli Yao team that's currently available. But credit where credit is due to Yinlin, if you're not good at playing Changli, or you're not willing to invest the effort required in order to play her well, then Yinlin is still going to end up being better because she's a whole lot easier to play, and her buffs are indeed very good for Changli. This is all building up to Changli's one major flaw, which I'll touch on a little later. And of course, it is not a Changli video without mentioning Brant Wuthering Waves. Let the flames rise! Okay, so, that aside, he is of course Changli's tried and true best in slot teammate. They are partners in crime. But you know what's nice about Mr. Brant Wuthering Waves? He's able to significantly decrease the gameplay difficulty of playing Changli. This is because his outro skill buffs make it worth using Changli as a regular on-fielder. So you don't actually have to quick swap in order to make great use out of the Phoenix Lady, making it the most accessible Changli team to date. However, I'd like to highlight that I said good use, because you can in fact still quick swap within this team, and that does actually still end up being the most optimal way to play this team, even if that means that you're not taking full advantage of Brant's outro skill buffs. Regardless, Brant Wuthering Waves ends up being one of the best characters to play Changli with, regardless of whether you're good at the game or bad at it. So that most definitely adds points to her versatility meter. And this next team, oh boy, it is very difficult to play, and you do genuinely have to be quite good at the game in order to pull it off. But Jinshi Changli is unironically a team that can work. You need very, very high gameplay skill for it. It is not a team for the weak-willed, but you can make it work. It all just really goes to show, the only limit when it comes to your Changli team building is skill. Skill issue is the main limiting factor when it comes to her potential, so if you have none of that, then congratulations. You've got yourself one heck of a character that can work in an endless amount of teams. Skill issue is the limit. I also shouldn't move on before talking a little bit about Changli's outro skill. It's pretty good. She can actually be a decent substitute for Sanhua and Encore teams. She's not best in slot there, you would rather just use the Jinjo Magistrate's Bodyguard, and Brant Wuthering Waves would also be a preferable substitute. But either way, the lady who beckons the divine flames still ends up being a viable option here. And shoot, once again, even though you would rather use Brant Wuthering Waves, you can even pair her up with Chishia, just generally a good second slot teammate for any fusion DPS. So team options are sure as heck not gonna be a problem for you. I should also highlight how this lady is one of the least signature reliant characters in Wuthering Waves. Now obviously Blazing Brilliance is her best in slot, and it's honestly a really good sword to have on your account in general. Very versatile with really good stat sticks on it. However, she only really demands traditional stats such as crit rate, crit damage, attack, you get the idea. So Emerald of Genesis is honestly a really good substitute on her, a much better substitute on her compared to other sword users. She makes great use out of it, and even if her signature is of course a much better weapon, but compared to most Wuthering Waves characters, especially those that care about dealing damage, she honestly gets by on a standard weapon the best. There's no crazy gimmick at hand here, there's no Conchero consumption like Camellia, and there's no insane ER scaling like Brant Wuthering Waves. She's happy enough just to get stats. This makes her extremely free-to-play friendly in my opinion. You're easily able to get by on a standard 5-star weapon, and she has a plethora of good team comps that she can fit into. And oh boy, it would not be a Changli Glaze video without me talking about how amazing she is in Whimpering Wastes. She is part of the WEWA Big 3 in my opinion. Gion, Camellia, and then of course herself. Those 3 characters maul that game mode like there is no tomorrow. Holy heck is she good there. Her AoE skill slashes just mow down those waves like there is no tomorrow. Her heavy attacks have excellent range and are once again really good for dealing with multiple waves of enemies, while also being very flexible in terms of where you can fit them into your rotation. And on the whole, she does a very consistent amount of damage throughout the entirety of the battle. She doesn't front load all of her damage at once, which is perfect for this type of game mode. That's another thing that I'd like to throw in there. She's a really good character for multi-wave in general because she doesn't have to throw all of her damage out at once. So if you're having trouble in that game mode, then I could not recommend Changli enough. Holy heck is she good there, and considering how many team options she has, you'll easily be able to put together a team that can practically just farm points. And then of course, as always, no matter how many Changli videos I make, I am always going to mention this, because it would be criminal of me not to mention this. This character is the #1 overworld character in all of Wuthering Waves, and I am not making an exaggeration. I think the only other character that is just as comfortable as she is in the overworld is Brant Wuthering Waves. But even then, I honestly still think that Changli is a little better than him in the overworld. She is just so convenient. Because she isn't a super backloaded unit and you can just throw her skills out at any time and her heavy attacks are super intuitive, you can easily take care of overworld enemies without any issues. She isn't burst reliant, you can only survive just using her skills and normal attacks, and she gets the job done beautifully. Combine her with Brant, and you've got yourself the greatest overworld team of all time. I main those 2 characters 99% because of how good they are to use in the overworld and for my day-to-day gameplay. It's ridiculous. Whenever I briefly tried to use Zani in the overworld for quite some time, dude, I just kept thinking, my goodness, Changli and Brant are just built different, aren't they? My bar for overworld exploration characters is up in the Imperator Ordained Heavens because I've just been spoiled by Changli so much. Friendly reminder, endgame content isn't even a fraction of this game's overall content. Overworld exploration, that is a very large chunk of this game's content. If you want a good character for exploring, I'm just gonna say it flat out. I recommend this character over any other character in this entire game if exploring is your main priority. I will continue to shill Changli in the overworld until the day I perish. That is just how good it is. But then we arrive at the one major flaw that I absolutely must address in regards to Changli. And to be honest, this doesn't really apply anymore if you're somebody that has Brant Wuthering Waves, because then you can just opt to play her as a hyper carry, which is a much easier playstyle to execute with her. However, if you don't have him and you don't want him, then you have to take a look at all of her other team options. And let's just say, Changli is not an easy character to play. Without a shadow of a doubt, Changli is one of the most difficult characters to play in all of Wuthering Waves, at least if you want to execute her optimally. Her value on your account is going to feel very low if you're not able to play her well. It's not impossible to learn her or anything like that. If you're really good at fast inputs, then you should be fine. But it's definitely a learning curve. Now once you've passed it, you're there. You understand the gimmick. And usually, most of the time, whenever a new character comes out that's viable with Changli, the main challenge is just finding out their swap window, and then getting used to swapping in Changli during that window. But I will say, you do have to put in effort if you actually want to use her well. Do I still think she's a good pull? Of course. But only if you're willing to put in that gameplay effort. Because I'm telling you, the better that you play Changli, the better that she's going to perform. And it is quite a significant increase. I still just find this character to be really cool, and really fun at that. There's just no other unit that's nearly as convenient as her. I'm pretty much always using her all the time. Now, I've been using her pretty much every day ever since she first came out, so I'm obviously very accustomed to her playstyle at this point. and I find new Quickswap teams coming out to always be really fun, because I enjoy trying to learn their swap windows. I 100% recommend her if you're somebody that's looking for a more complicated experience in Wuthering Waves, especially because a lot of recent characters seem to have ease of use as one of their core qualities. This Phoenix lady has the potential to be quite difficult to play, and I honestly think that's neat. Now with that being said, is she worth it when Carlotta and Jinchi are going to be running at the same time as her, not to mention freaking Brant Wuthering Waves as well? I would say yes, if you have some teams for her, and you're able to use her well. But I have a very hard time recommending her over Carlotta. I'm gonna be real with you, Chief, the #1 priority pull for this upcoming banner is Carlotta. But if you're already an owner of the esteemed Montelli lady, and you're wondering whether Changli is the one for you, to that I say, the potential is 1,000,000% there, but are you willing to put in the effort? That's for you to decide. So how do you feel about Changli now? Are you going to be pulling her on her upcoming banner, or is it a skip for you? Let me know down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. As always, I have a ZZZ second channel. Head on over and subscribe if you're interested in some fun, silly ZZZ content. I'd also like to mention that I stream on Twitch. I stream once a week, every week on Saturdays, Stormfront free PvK time. Come along so we can play Wuthering Waves, ZZZ, do some other fun stuff together. Hopefully this video is able to tell you whether Changli is still worth it or not. This has been Juice, signing out. And let me ask you something real quick. Who's the caged bird now?